The only thing I love more than sports is sports radio. Take it away, boys. The Naz and Wally Sports Hour on Zoomer Radio.
Good morning and welcome back to the Naz and Wally Sports Hour. We are live on AM 740 on downtown Toronto, 96.7 FM. We also stream on the internet, www.zoomerradio.ca. We're pleased to welcome back to the Naz and Wally Sports Hour, Mintink's John Amendola. John, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
Good. Thanks for getting up early for us, John. I know that Saturday nights you do a really late show. Might be a good opportunity for you to tell our listeners exactly what you do Saturday nights.
Yes, Saturday nights and the 5 other nights of the week, we have a live streaming channel where we talk about sports, and more importantly, we rip open packs of cards all night long for our viewers. Oh, I think I lost you there.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a bad connection this morning. Unfortunately, we'll keep working on it. John, are you still there?
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Anyways, John, pretty remarkable sports card expo last weekend. Tell us all about it.
Okay, well, it was unbelievable. There was upwards of 20,000 people there just on the Saturday. It was 4 days. It was the biggest show Canada's ever seen. We had PSA grading on site. It was an absolute. I don't even know the right word to describe it. That's how amazing it was. It was more than I ever could have expected. The crowd was wild. We had the privilege of having PSA on site grading for the first time in Canada, and we had a customer bring in. Your listeners will love this. A few gems from the 1952 Topps baseball set.
Oh my God!
Yes,
that's Mickey Mantle, isn't it?
Well, we had an Eddie Matthews rookie, 2 Willie Mays rookies, and not 1, not 2, but 3 Mickey Mantle rookies.
How did they pop up, these Mantle rookies, and what kind of shape were they?
They were a couple of customers, and they were their fathers in their collection, and the gentleman had passed away a while ago, and I guess they just saw an article somewhere, and they remembered they had these cards. And let me tell you, the cards graded, the Mantles were 1 and 1.5. So you're thinking, oh my, a 1, right? Like, let's give you perspective. A 10 is 35 million US. Okay, there's 3 of them known to exist. So a PSA 1.5 Mickey Mantle is still a $40,000 card.
Wow.
So these 5 or 6 cards totaled out to about a $1.50.
Wow. What when you're grading a Mantle, because this is, you get our listenership here, and they're all thinking about their cards. When you're grading something at 1.5. What's the difference between a 10, a mint or gem mint or whatever you call it, and a 1.5? What's the difference?
Well, in the case of Mickey Mantle, about 30 million.
Yeah, no, yeah.
from the card itself,
I was more interested in the condition of the card.
You're looking at things like the corners, the edges. Like, if you remember, things like corners, edges, and centerings, but the 52 Topps, like the surface of the cards, the coloring. So eye appeal is very important. You may have a 1.5 that looks nicer than another 1.5 because maybe you're, the picture's nicer, but the corners. So a lot of folks, when they're buying, let's call it what it is. If you're spending that kind of money on a card, it's art before it's a piece of cardboard. So whether it's paint on a canvas or ink on cardboard, a lot of the price, they fluctuate a lot based on eye appeal. But there is only 3 perfect 10s recorded. I think only 2 of them have ever been found. One of them is owned, the gentleman that owns the Arizona Diamondbacks, his name has escaped me at the moment, but he has one of the most expensive baseball card collections in the world. 10 cards. They put a great big book PSA put out. He's got 10 cards that are worth $100 million, and you're talking about Hank Aaron PSA 10, Mickey Mantle PSA 10, Jackie Robinson PSA 10, like the top Babe Ruth, like the top, and he's got the best of the best. So there's a lot to be said about about the condition of those old cards.
Naz, are you there? I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Mike Tyson and Ric Flair, how popular were they last weekend?
So Naz, Saturday, saw more people than 5 years ago, the whole Expo weekend. It was unbelievable. Ric Flair and Mike Tyson, they were like, the lineups were incredible. The Expo, big kudos to Steve Menzies and his team, because man, the talent that they had. On top of Tyson and Flair, they had Dougie Gilmore, Max Domi, Matthew Nyes, and Joseph Wall there all at the same time. So you have Ric Flair, Mike Tyson, and then 4 Leafs in crazy Leafland. Like, it was an outstanding day. It was great. We paid the bills on Saturday.
That's good to know. Lou,
Lou's here. Lou, get this. Lou? I did a grading for a good buddy of mine in Walters, and he had a Gordie Howe. Here's another one for you guys. The Gordie Howe came back a 3, 10,000 US.
Wow. Wow.
It's one of the grails.
Lou, I'll turn it over to you. Any questions or comments for John?
Oh, John, it's funny that you tell me that Ric Flair's there. 92, I was retired from hockey. Went down to Jacksonville, Florida. Took a picture with myself, my son Daniel, who was 1 year old at the time, Red Rooster, and Arn Anderson, right on the beach in Jacksonville, and we were all buffed. And that was right after my playing days. But that's my claim awesome. to Ric Flair, and I'm still looking for him. I'm trying to get together with him so he can sign it, because I had it blown up to an 8x10. But
that's awesome.
Anyway, you're talking about those cards. Where were the Ty Cobb cards with the 3 cards you mentioned with Mickey Mantle?
The T206. I'm pretty sure that he's still. There was a Mickey Mantle 9.5 that sold for about $12 million in the last year, and that's the record now. The 10's never been sold, so the most expensive. There is a Ty Cobb, the one you're talking about, the T206, the cigarette card. Everybody knows there was only a few printed. Ty was a very much an anti-tobacco guy. You're still in the millions for that card. That's the one, if you remember, Bruce McNall and Wayne Gretzky owned way back in around the same time you were hanging out on the beach with Ric Flair. And it's right there, but there's a card up right now for auction, and I'll let Wally know how it finishes so we can tell the viewers. It's I want to say it's 1916. Don't quote me on this, or 1913 or 1919, but it's a Babe Ruth card that's never been for sale before. I'd never even seen it. Piedmont. A very cool card. It's like black and red. If you Google it right now, if you're a listener and you want to know, just Google Babe Ruth card for sale. They're saying that it could do some damage and set a new record. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that finishes up this month. Yeah, pretty sure it's on Heritage Auctions or Leland.
We're talking to John Amendola. John Amendola is the owner of Mintink Sportscards, one of the top sports cards impresarios in Canada, if not the world. John, you've got all kinds of things going on. You're dealing with all kinds of different card companies. So congratulations, your business is doing fantastic.
Thank you for that.
Our listeners always ask this question, and I always ask this question. By the way, if the Jean Beliveau's gone up in price, I've got a vested interest in him, if you haven't noticed.
Beliveau is a big one. He's another one. So there you go. Your 51 Parkies are rocking.
I'm feeling a lot better this morning now, John. But listeners always ask this question. We always hear these incredible numbers about some of these, and from what I can tell, from what you're telling me, the sports card market's not like the real estate market these days. It's still rocking and rolling, and last weekend certainly displayed that. But for guys like us, myself, we grew up 50s, 60s. We had those cards down in the basement. When we hear these crazy, obviously, if it's one, if they've been beat up, but are the old cards at a 1.5 or a 2, however you grade them, with beat up corners and a couple of wrinkles on them, are they actually worth money?
So like I said, some of them, absolutely. The law we had for our friend there was 13 cards. We ended up sending 8 of them. and they all came back 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. There was a Gretzky in there that came a 7, which is obviously quite nice. But, Bobby Orr was a 4, 7,000. So to give you context, these cards were from the 50s, some Parkeys and a few Gordie Howe Topps cards from the early 60s. There was a Sawchuk in there, a Howe, and an Orr, and then about 6 Bobby Orr cards. 3,000 to grade, and we got back a bunch of 1s and 2s, Wally, that are worth about 34,000. So it really depends on the players. And you mentioned the market. The market, like all other markets, is no different. It's not, Gordie Howe today is a little less expensive than he was 6 months ago because there's a little bit less disposable. But at the end of the day, like houses and stocks, there's still always lots of trading, lots of buying and selling. And like any other market, it's very cyclical. It can be very, speculative. So at the end of the day, the best thing to really do is to collect what you love, as opposed to looking at it from an investment point of view. But yeah, the binder of cards that I'm finally getting around to looking through for you, there's a few gems in there that we're going to grade for sure. Especially the vintage stuff. The you get into the 50s, 60s, and prior, and it's just stayed the test of time. They're not making any more Gordie Howe rookies. Bottom line.
Naz?
Keon, how is he doing on the market?
Keon is another great one. He's not quite there with some of the other names we've mentioned, but I mean, especially around Leafland, just given everything. I think you guys have had him on the show more times than he's been in the ACC in the last 30 or 40 years. So, I mean, I know that that's starting to change now too. The more he comes around and sort of gets back on the scene. So, a lot of that is what kind of creates that demand too. When there's a story. When there's a story to it, when these players post-career have some value in pop culture, if you will, but guys like Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods, they're still always talked about a lot. So as long as you remain top of mind, or again, we get into this legendary status like the Bobby Orrs and the Wayne Gretzkys and the Babe Ruths of the world. That's wild. The demand is crazy. But even the modern stuff, we sell cards all the time, 500, 2,000, 5,000, and $1 and all the way up. So there really is, the cool thing about the hobby is there's something for everybody. You'll love this. There's even pickleball cards now. So, I mean, there really is something for, and not everything's millions of dollars, When you're ready to shop for your grandkids, come see us. The Pokemon cards start at $6.99. Hockey cards starting packs at $5 or $10. So it's very affordable. But yes, at the end of the day, you can definitely spend a lot of money, and instead of that new Corvette, we can get you a nice new Gordie Howe card.
Yeah, without getting into specific details, John, perhaps it might be an opportune moment to, our listeners are out there. They've got cards. They're buying cards. They're on eBay. They're different Kijiji, wherever these cards are sold. But there's something that they should be careful about. There's some hot stuff out there, isn't it? Hot when I mean.
Yeah, you got to be. Yeah, so
be careful, right?
Yeah, we've had some issues, as you know. We won't get into it too much, but we've definitely experienced some theft along the way. But the cool thing about the cards, especially if we're talking about some of the cards we're talking about, and this is why you have to get your cards graded for two reasons. And this was a great example with our friend. The two reasons were, number one, he didn't know that he had $30,000 or $40,000 worth of cards in these 8 pieces. So from an insurance point of view, his basement gets a flood, and these raw cards hanging out in a box. You're not getting your money. You're not getting the even remotely close to the value. So from an insurance point of view, it's crucial. And then onto the theft side, which kind of coincides with it all, is once the cards are graded, they're attached with a serial number and high-res photos that are cataloged. So, yes, you could crack the slab open and try to resell the card. It just slows them down a little bit. And then some of the more modern stuff is actually numbered. So if you steal my Sidney Crosby card, but it's Sidney Crosby number 7 out of 50, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you try to reholster the card, reslab the card, it's always still going to be stamped number 7 of 50. So there's definitely some ways, lots of deterrents, but I highly recommend if you are, whether you're a collector today or if you are like our friend sitting on a basement full of what, you know, a treasure trove, you're looking to leave it for your estate, for your family, for the generations to come, you may want to consider the grading approach, because like I said, from keep point of view, encapsulation, but really to deter theft, and from an insurance point of view, you must have your high-end collectibles graded and registered with an authority in the space.
Anyways, we've been talking to John Amendola. John, thanks so much for joining us to give our listeners an idea. I mean, we have a lot of listeners that are sitting on cards or active in the market or interested in getting active in the market, and you're one of the go-to guys for sports cards in Canada, if not around the world. Please fill our listeners in all the areas.
Yeah, we have so we can help you with everything: buying, selling, appraising, grading, storage, vault service. You can literally drop the cards off to us, and we'll get back to you. Full review service. We have 2 locations in the GTA: one downtown at Avenue and Davenport, one up in Vaughan. We've just we're just about to finish building out a 3rd location, which is an event center. You can find us online, Mintink, MINTINK.ca. Find us online, Google us, give us a call. You can reach out to me directly. I'd love to help you. Our Toronto store, Aton, the manager, actually specializes in vintage. So if you're ever in the area, pop in. He'd love to pour you a coffee and chat about your old gems.
Awesome stuff. John Amendola. John, thanks so much.
Thanks again, boys. There's nobody I'd rather wake up for on a Sunday morning than you fellas. So you guys have a great day. I'm going back to bed. Okay. Take care, guys.
Thanks, John Amendola.
Bye.
We're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to have TSN's Carlo Colaiacovo. We're going to have a little bit of Buffalo Bills chat and perhaps some Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll be right back.